All right, it looks like we have a good amount of attendees in the room, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to first and foremost thank everyone for joining us today for Better Together, spotlighting Liongard and N-able technologies. So today I have with myself, so I am Scott Davis from Liongard. I am the sales engineer over here, but I've been in the technology industry for over 20 years. As you can see there, I am actually an N-Central certified technician. I came from using N-Central in my MSP. I'm also a Liongard certified professional, but in the whole 6 years of MSP experience, over 20 years in technology, background with cybersecurity and infrastructure. I also am an adjunct professor teaching cybersecurity at Harrisburg University in central Pennsylvania. So definitely a ton of knowledge that I'm hoping to share with everyone today. But Chris, do you mind introducing yourself for us?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so name is Chris Groot. I've been with N-able and previous iterations of through acquisition for just coming on 9 years now. And today I head up general manager for our N-able backup division. So just excited to be here and share a little bit about how we're working together.
Awesome, Chris. I'm going to leave the floor with you, and we're going to kind of, if you can, introduce N-able.
Yeah, great. So for those of you who might not be familiar with N-able or may have heard of N-able but not really clear on who they are, N-able's really been around since the beginning of MSP, but through the years has grown three primary pillars has kind of grown our business, which is RMM, so remote monitoring management. Backup would be our second pillar, and then third pillar is security, so things like EDR, password management, mail filtering, things like that, basic building blocks, on top of patching and so on, that generally comes with an RMM product. So through that, we've grown. We actually became a public company in July, and so you can find us trading on the New York Stock Exchange if that's a thing of interest. But we do work actively. We have 25,000 MSP customers worldwide, which represents about 500,000 small and medium-sized enterprises that those managed service providers are servicing, with about 7 million endpoints inside. So you just kind of get a scope of, we've got a broad set of customers that we work with, some very large and some very small, and we've got kind of a solution set across whatever the right fit is for wherever you're at in your growth journey as an MSP.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add in?
No, I think, that kind of sets us up in terms of who we are for anyone who might not have met us previously.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to introduce Liongard real quick. And Liongard is a unified visibility platform. And when I say a unified visibility platform, what I'm saying is Liongard goes out to all of your different systems and is pulling the configuration data out. And here you can kind of see that mayhem look and feel. This is the average MSP out there. You have all these different portals, all these different tenant accounts. You're logging in. It is legitimately, you're sitting here pulling your hair out. It's usually disorganized. You're typically worried because you're vulnerable. You don't know if someone's opened up a firewall port. You can't tell if, an employee that left several months ago still or doesn't have access. So there is that vulnerable state. And at the end of the day, when you're manually documenting things, everything gets stagnated. As soon as you document it, the data is already old. It's no different than, the saying, as soon as you drive the car off the lot, it's already lost value, or the second you brought the computer home from, Best Buy, it's already outdated. It's that same type of mentality that data is only as good as the last time it was updated and maintained. So what Liongard does extremely well is that unified visibility. So when you get that unified visibility, you're getting that same documentation stack across every one of your customers. You're getting that standardized configurations and documentation, that alerting, that smart actionable alerting, now alerting you that, hey, this technician did this, looking at it as, port 3389 was opened up on a firewall, or the employee still has access to this when you're kind of doing that review. Being able to identify what's out on the network with network discovery. But what makes Liongard special is that we're doing the things behind the firewall and your cloud services and your endpoints. So it is a truly unified platform for your entire stack. Now, Liongard collects all of this data in What's the real power is what we do with it once we have it. So obviously within the Liongard portal, you're seeing the data, you're seeing an 18-month historical timeline showing you changes in the capability of going back and seeing configuration drift. But now we're also pushing it into your existing tools like IT Glue or Hoodoo, BrightGauge or Power BI, Narmada or Lifecycle Insights. So Liongard is that unified visibility platform, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But before I do, I want to pass it back over to Chris to explain a little bit about N-able's backup platform.
Sure, great, thanks, Scott. Yeah, so N-able backup, I sometimes call it the best kept secret in backup. We've been working at this for some time now, but really have found our place in terms of how the changing IT world or how the world of IT has changed in the last few years. So just to kind of frame where we come from, originally there's the tape-based vendors, kind of around 2005 came along image-based, and that really started to make the situation where you need to recover a full server a lot easier. That's really the big benefit of the image, but complexity, you had to deal with storage, and then you had to get it off site, and there was a bunch of things that you had to piece together, was always a challenge. So then came along the appliance-based vendors, and Datto's a name that probably many of you have heard over the years. There's other appliance-based vendors out there. And what they did was they combined that image-based technology with a piece of hardware, which made it a lot more turnkey and really brought down that complexity for the technicians, just simplified it that you could roll that out a lot easier. And the challenge that MSPs ran into there was that the cost went up significantly. And for a lot of their audience, although the convenience was nice, the cost was sort of gave them sticker shock, especially for the MSP who also needs to build on that and earn their margin as well. So really moving to a cloud first approach, what it does is gives you the benefits of that recovery experience. So being able to recover as an image, but it allows you to drive down your cost and complexity. So underlying what we do is we've got some innovation that really reduces the data footprint and so on, which allows us to break the traditional kind of economics of backup and disaster recovery. So to drive down that cost and to make it super turnkey so that you're not managing storage and you're not managing a bunch of like moving parts. It's one cohesive system, turnkey for your user, so it reduces that complexity piece. So if we drive to the next slide, just exactly what is cloud first backup? Well, we work, there's really two innovations. One is that we install as an agent at the inside the operating system. So as opposed to an image-based solution, which kind of operates outside the operating system. And that allows for a much greater level of efficiency on the backup. And further to that, you can make your backups even more streamlined with advanced filtering and further reducing that data footprint. And so when you do that, it means that your backups are much smaller. It means that you can back up much more frequently. It means that you can keep more retention. It means that with the data going straight off site and not being kind of staged at a local hardware appliance, it means that your security profile from like a ransomware perspective is much more enhanced because you're not relying on anything local. We're shooting it straight off the network in real time as backups run, and that just means that that immutability is in place, that you won't find yourself unable to recover in the case of ransomware. Just one more detail to add on that is then the underlying impact in terms of the economics to the MSP is really the time that gets spent on backup. So traditionally, someone's job is to monitor and manage and be prepared, make sure that there's a level of preparedness, maybe even testing for a disaster. And that was like taking up, several cycles depending on the size of your MSP. But typically the stories that we hear are like in a large MSP taking, 40 hours per month down to 4. A second story of taking 95 tickets per day. And this is, across 2,000 devices, 95 tickets a day down to 9 tickets per day. So that level of reducing the labor and the effort involved, first of all, makes much happier technicians. Secondly, really reduces the time footprint, which is, as an MSP, time is money.
Mhm.
So the last thing I'll mention, just to kind of really lay down, an example and understand the impact of the innovation that we have, and we'll highlight this a bit more when we do a quick demo. But if you have like a server of 500 gigs with a traditional image-based backup solution, which is used by both, Veeam, also the appliance-based vendors, you're going to see an incremental change rate of about 6%. And that just means that your incremental backups are going to move about 30 gigs of data. By way of comparison, with N-able backup, our change rate is at about 0.1%. So with that same backup, we're going to move about a half a gig of data. So we're moving, if you do the math there, that's 60 times less data. So we're not doing something that's just 10% better. We're doing something that's 60 times more efficient. And so if you fast forward that, how can you do certain things, with a new, kind of price point and deliver on that peace of mind that you need for your backup and disaster recovery solution? That's one of the core pieces of what we do different, that then layers into all the other benefits that we can bring. And so that's really why we see Cloud First moving to the front, in terms of it covers off both servers that are on premise, in your data center, as well as in public cloud. So all three of those like locations that MSPs are managing today in terms of the sprawl of IT are covered, as well as Microsoft 365. So covering off your SharePoint Exchange, your OneDrive across Microsoft 365 is now another pillar for the MSP. And this is all delivered in one unified experience then. So with that, Scott, I'll hand the mic back to you.
Perfect. Thank you. And just for the audience out there, yeah, we are focusing a lot on the N-able backups, and backups is only one component. Like Chris stated earlier, obviously they have the N-central RMM. They also have the RMM, which is cloud-based. You're talking Mail Assure. They have Passportal. There is that EDR product, and there's even MSP Manager. So there's a lot of great things that N-able has produced and has out in the market today. Backups are one piece, and it's one of the pieces that Liongard integrates the most with. And that's the reason we're focusing on the backup component. But now what I want to do is I want to switch gears, and it's demo time. So I'm going to jump over into the Liongard platform. So inside Liongard platform, if you haven't seen it before, this is our home dashboard. But what I want to do is I want to go to Microsoft's favorite fake company. And from there, I'm going to locate some N-able pieces. So we have the N-able N-central. The N-able N-central Inspector is really designed for the MSP to help you keep track of your configuration. So I can see like my overview, my roles, what devices are there, jobs. It's really a high level look at what the N-able and central component is on your management side. So again, like I said, our deepest integration is with backup, but I do want to highlight this one as well as our N-able RMM. And with the N-able RMM piece, again, same sort of thing. You can see your servers, your workstations, mobile devices, and the same timeline, look and feel, everything else you've come to expect from Liongard that you're utilizing. But the meat and potatoes of it is, like I said, the N-able backups. So let's switch over into the N-able backups, which it looks like our naming convention didn't get updated since the brand change. I apologize for that, Chris, and to the entire N-able team. But here I do see we have that same timeline. So when I look at overview, I see my customer name, my status, I can see my company information here. But one of the things that Liongard does amazingly well is pulling that user information. And here you can see count of users with MFA, count of users, total count of users. Being able to track who has access to this data is just as critical and is just as important than any other component of your backup. At the end of the day, if you have good backups, you can really save any relationship that you have, because the root of anything with technology is being able to get a company back up when that disaster strikes. I can look at devices, and inside my devices, I can see a quick summary overview. This is great for your billing person, being able to get that quick look without logging into the component itself or the N-able backup itself, but being able to get that quick snapshot and see, okay, I'm protecting one workstation, one server, and down below, it's even breaking down that information from the OS version, the external IP address, data sources, product retention, storage status, and last completed, protected size. And I even have some additional columns here, like the internal IP address, use storage, creation date, and even the hour since last backup. If I jump over into the Microsoft 365 backup piece, which absolutely, if you're not using a third party to back up your 365 environment, you really should reconsider that. I know I did it for every one of our customers within 365, but here you can see the 365 overview, protected user accounts, any shared accounts, total selected size, total status. Here you can see my Exchange information, hours since the last backup, if there's any errors, protected. You can see your OneDrive information, your SharePoint information. So it's not just backing up your Microsoft 365, it is digging in and backing up that OneDrive and that SharePoint as well. Everything that is powered by Liongard really comes in through this data print. And I'm highlighting it here just for a split second, because we're highlighting only certain metrics that we're pulling out of the configuration data, but anything that sits inside the data print is customizable. So you could, in theory, create your own metrics, and you could create your own actionable alerts off of those metrics within the Liongard platform. So there's not a whole lot to show, because let's be honest, this is really a high level overview of what Liongard does to help streamline that N-able management, to help you become a better, more automated MSP. But Chris, I want to pass it back over to you, and I'm going to stop my screen share so you can do a demo of the meat and potatoes of what N-able backup, or what makes it work.
All right. Picking up where I left off, the N-able backup, just wanted to highlight, sort of with the end in mind, built right into the product is recovery testing. So every 14 days, you can do full system recoveries, completely turnkey, no hardware or any it's something you can set up in under a minute, and you can see an overview of your backup tests. You can see exactly the duration. You can see a screenshot of that device running, and it'll give you further details around all the services starting. So very healthy level of testing, and just lets you know that you are prepared should that phone ring and you need to go into recovery mode. Then looking at the perspective from the day-to-day as you're backing up, I mentioned that unified experience, so I'll orient your eyes to the top left here. You can see an overview of servers, workstations, Microsoft 365 domains that you're covering. And this is fully multi-tenant, so if you wanted to come to one of your customers as an example, then you can filter out that view. So this is taking what Liongard has done a nice job of providing, like let's say level 1 of information, so that you've got a good control of seeing like a unified view across all your vendors. Then double clicking into this, it's going to provide you a much more in-depth view across all your customers, give you a real-time view in terms of where backups are at. So this is, we can see in real time, 60 are completed, 4 are currently running. And if there was any failures, of course, we'd call that out as well. And then lastly, looking at the time that a backup last ran. So in some circumstances with workstations, et cetera, or even servers, you could have a good backup on a Saturday, but for some reason that machine is shut down. And if it doesn't get started back up again, it'll alert you that, hey, it's been over 24 hours, it's been over 48 hours. And so potentially that's something to pay attention to. So we've covered that off from all 3 perspectives. And so then taking that further, when you want to deploy devices, really it's about your service levels. So you can set up different service levels using a feature called profiles. I'll just highlight real quick what that user experience looks like, because it allows you for different types of plugins to specify the frequency at which you want to back up. So you can take it right down to every 15 minutes. And again, the convenience of this is that it's comes with, like, the storage is all pre-configured for you. So all you're doing is you set up your profiles. You're then ready to deploy out to your customers. So when you want to deploy to a customer, the two things that you can do are either Microsoft 365 backup or servers and workstations. I take the left side path here first. To deploy, you're just selecting your level, your SLA that you've set up, so your service level. And once you roll that out, it's just a custom executable that you can then either download and install directly on the device, or you can use PowerShell or your RMM or whatever your favorite software deployment tool is. And so rolling out 100 devices in an afternoon or an hour is really no issue, because once you run that executable, it's configured, it's got the schedule, it does the selection for you automatically. And so all you need to do is basically run this, come back the next day, see your dashboard line up in green, and that just means that your customers are protected. So it really couldn't get much easier. And then similarly, from a Microsoft 365 perspective, is that you're just bringing in your customer's domain name, you're providing credentials, selecting the users for Exchange and OneDrive, selecting your sites for SharePoint, and so you can set up a customer in just a minute or two, and you're off to the races. So I think that provides, I just wanted to provide a flash, I guess, sort of intro to the product and give everyone a good sense of what that looks like. Just the last thing I mentioned in terms of just understanding why there might be reason to explore further is, I mentioned the rate of these backups, and that we're doing, something different than what you'll see with other products. And really that, like, some of the point is in terms of these servers, these are, average size servers, say 7,500 gigs. Your backups are running in, minutes or seconds. So that's your backup window. And in terms of the data being sent in those incremental backups, instead of gigs, we're sending just like single megs of data. So it's really incredible the level of efficiency that we've gotten to. And when you're able to do that, that just means you inherit a whole bunch of new benefits, including one of them being that we can be quite disruptive from an overall cost perspective to the MSP. So both on the peace of mind and on the how do you deliver the most value to your customers while making a reasonable profit for your MSP. So Scott, I'll hand it back to you then, in terms of us coming together, and I think we're going to go back to the slides. Is that right?
Yeah. Can you end your screen share?
Yep.
Perfect. Chris, thank you. That was absolutely a great demo of it. I used the N-able backup product when I was at an MSP, and there was a lot of value that I got out of it. And the whole purpose of today's session really is about how we work better together. And there's a lot of different tools that you as an MSP can bring into your stack, from the N-able that we're talking about today. And it's really about just uniting those tools, uniting that management, uniting that configuration, and working together, because there's so much of this, this has to replace this, or this has to do that. In the community, you need that layering technology, or that layering almost mentality, that you need some things that are going to layer on top of each other to make sure that you're doing what's best for your end customers. And I truly believe working with N-able and with Liongard, you can meet that. And that's really the root of what Better Together is all about. So as far as call to action, Chris, do you want to highlight your call to action, the URL? I think we'll post the URL in the chat window as well. But is there any other information, a phone number or email address they can reach out to?
Yeah, I think I would say that the best way to get in touch with us is through the trial link that you see on the screen at the top of the screen here, and we're adding that to the chat as we speak. If you do want to just get just a little bit more information, I think we're going to add in just a 2-minute video that explains a little bit more in a fulsome way that exactly what N-able Backup does. So you can take that and share it with your colleagues and just decide whether or not it's worth taking that next step. We would certainly love to, if you were to start a trial, basically we'll spend some time with you to understand your specific scenario and how this can fit into helping you serve your existing customers as well as help you with your growth plans.
Awesome. And just for everyone looking at that URL, that is n-able.com, and that's IP/re-think-backup-trial. So sometimes that I and the L throw me off looking at URLs. I'm sorry, it is actually an L, not the I. I got it back. I knew it was going to happen. It's actually LP-re-think-backup-trial. So definitely take a look at that. Sign up for it. If you haven't seen what N-able's backup can do, definitely look at that evaluation. That's just my personal opinion. But same thing with Liongard. If you want to learn more about Liongard, get that personalized demo, dig in deeper than we did today. Visit liongard.com. In the top right corner, you'll see the capability of signing up for that demo. You can also reach out to sales@liongard.com or the 800 number that's on it. Also, we are pretty upfront with our pricing. So we do have also exclusive pricing for N-able customers. So if you currently are an N-able partner, there you can see kind of what that pricing looks like. And we bill by the number of managed customers that you have. So we bill by the customer. So we look at, okay, you have one customer, they have 10 locations. That is still one managed customer in our eyes. Right now, when you do sign up, you do get 1 month free, plus the month that you sign up. So if you sign up today in November, you're getting the rest of November and all of December for free. So you're not billing until the new year. So definitely take a look at liongard.com, take a look at N-able. But what I want to do is, I think we had a couple questions that were introduced. And the first question that I see here, do you have data centers outside of North America? As the whole world that we are in today, everyone is doing these Zoom meetings. I'll answer it from Liongard first. Liongard, we do have data centers all across the globe. We utilize AWS or Amazon Web Services. So we do have data centers that are in your local area, just to comply with your GDPR requirements. Chris, can you answer the same question?
Yeah, we operate out of 30 data centers across 17 countries, and have like the local compliance standards. We can provide all the local compliance standards, but in terms of what different verticals would be looking for from a backup vendor. So whether it's healthcare or legal or financial services, we've got you covered.
Awesome. And it looks like the next question is really just for you. How are you securing backups in transit to and from the cloud storage?
Yeah, great question. So everything is, so first of all, to access the system, it's all 2FA protected, standard stuff, but important to note these days. In terms of the backups itself, everything is backed up at the source. So at the production location, it's encrypted there. It stays encrypted during encryption, in transit, and stays encrypted always on the storage. So there's at no point in its journey does it ever become unencrypted.
Awesome. Awesome. I see a question here for Liongard. The question is along the lines of, do we have an API? So it was, can I have the ability of pulling data out of Liongard that Liongard's collecting? And the answer is yes. We do have an API. We do have a complete, if you go docs.liongard.com, there's information on our API. And in fact, the tools in Armada, Lifecycle Insights, and Hoodoo are actually pulling the data from our API and integrating it into their platforms. So we're already seeing the power of what Liongard's great data can do when the other vendors are saying, hey, this data is useful for me too. I can pull it out of their API and I can drop it into my portal to help the end customer. And that's what unified visibility is all about. We answered earlier, there's a question, does N-able backup more than just servers? We answered that. As we saw workstations, it also does the 365 piece. What does N-able backup use for cloud storage of backups?
So our global footprint is all private, like a private cloud that we run. So we manage the actual backend of the storage. We're not usually utilizing for the backup storage any other vendors like Amazon or Azure or anything like that. That's all housed within, I guess, a cloud that we have purpose built for security and scalability and really driving the right outcomes for our customers.
Perfect. Well, that's the questions that I see so far. So Chris, any final thoughts, any final words that you want to share?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for the audience in terms of Liongard, like the question came in about the API, and I'll just mention, I thought we also, N-able Backup provides an API. So being able to extract data in a similar sort of format is available from that perspective as well. But other than that, you know, for your MSP, if, you know, obviously one of your pillars of service delivery in terms of security and preparedness or protecting your customers these days is backup and disaster recovery. If you're looking for something that drives down your cost and drives down your complexity and drives down your man hours, that's really the promise that we deliver on. So if that's intriguing, you know, spend a half an hour with us, and it likely will be something you find can help your business.
Perfect. Chris, the entire N-able team that's with us today, thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for working better together with Liongard and helping to improve the entire community around the MSP and technology space. So with that, I'm Scott from Liongard. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Scott. Really appreciate it.